down.
You're filming? You're just to hell with this?
There's no real mystery here about what happened. There isn't. That's why I don't know that we're going to see really significant revelations in the next few weeks. There may be more details. We may have more confirmation about what took place, but we know what happened on that day, right? I mean, Donald Trump began his assault on the integrity of the election during the summer of 2020. He carried it out in unprecedented ways, trying to delegitimize the mail ballots in the post office and calling into question the integrity of the election. He pressured election officials to overturn legitimate votes. I mean, this was a comprehensive campaign that began during the summer of 2020, of which the attack on January 6th was only one piece of a much larger, very public set of efforts to undermine the integrity of the election and to ensure that he stayed in office despite not winning the election. And so I think that we know the outlines of the story. The question is, how much detail are we going to get?
All of us here today do not want to see our election victory stolen by emboldened radical left Democrats, which is what they're doing, and stolen by the fake news media. That's what they've done and what they're doing. We will never give up. We will never concede. It doesn't happen. You don't concede when there's theft involved. Our country has had enough. We will not take it anymore, and that's what this is all about.
And I think this is, in a very uncharacteristic way, this committee process has been very quiet. And yes, there's been some leaks, but it's not been a very public process. I think that we're going to learn a lot more very quickly. I mean, they're coming out of the box with not hearings, but they're beginning by presenting the information they have that they think is most relevant. It's going to be in prime time here in the United States and probably get a pretty big viewership on Thursday night. And so, I think that the most important thing to me about this process is that I think the members of Congress have treated this with the gravity that it deserves. We have a bipartisan commission. This is being really, Liz Cheney, who is the lead Republican, is playing a very significant role. She's not a token figure in this process. She's intimately involved in the big strategic decision-making and the public communications. I think they're treating this in a manner where they're treating it with the appropriate level of gravity for what happened. I mean, this is an unprecedented effort to overthrow the outcome of a legitimate election in the United States that was guided by the sitting president and his allies in Congress.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the committee favorably report to the House the committee's report on a resolution recommending that the House of Representatives find Mark Randall Meadows in contempt of Congress for refusal to comply with a subpoena duly issued by the Select Committee to investigate the January 6th attack on the United States Capitol.
I think the committee is very aware that they have an obligation just to tell the story and to make sure that the American people understand what happened to their own country. And that I think there's going to be a very deliberate attempt to keep it simple and to tell the story about what happened that day, to lay it out in detail, and also in all the preparations that went on in the months before and the things that have happened since. And I think the reason this is also very challenging for our political system in Washington is because there were so many members of Congress who were directly involved in this effort, both beforehand and who voted to sort of look the other way and have continued to deny the import of this. And I think that's what also makes this very challenging for House members.
You can see Vice President Pence and his family quickly move down the stairs. The Vice President turns around briefly as he's headed down.
The whole number of electors appointed to vote for President of the United States is 538. Within that whole number, a majority is 270. The votes for President of the United States are as follows. Joseph R. Biden, Jr. of the state of Delaware has received 306 votes. Donald J. Trump of the state of Florida has received 232 votes.
one of the big questions is, is how much of the federal government, not just the people around the president and the congressional allies, how wide was the conspiracy? And what does that mean, right? I mean, if we had departments and agencies and people in the Defense Department and Department of Homeland Security and other departments that were actively involved in the conspiracy, as well as dozens of members of Congress potentially, I mean, this is something that really makes this sort of unlike Watergate in that regard, is that the conspiracy appears to be far more vast, and the goal of the conspiracy is far more serious and grave in what they were trying to achieve.
Hello, Patriots!
Fight for Trump! Fight for Trump! Fight for Trump! Hello. Let's have trial by combat.
There's a completely different media environment that we live in today than during Watergate. And so I think the committee has a much tougher job to do, because there's going to be much more opposition to the story they're telling, much more direct, both from Republicans and also from Republican allied media will be attacking this process and creating diversions in ways that wasn't really as it happened during Watergate, of course. I mean, Nixon had his allies and his defenders, but it won't be on the same level and scale as what we're seeing. And this is, so I think that this is, from a communication standpoint, the committee has a very hard job. And we're also getting into summertime. I mean, people are beginning to check out, in their engagement with the big world out there.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Joseph Robinette Biden, Jr., do solemnly swear.
I, Joseph Robinette Biden, Jr., do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully execute.
That I will faithfully execute.
The office of President of the United States.
The office of President of the United States.
And will, to the best of my ability.
And will, to the best of my ability.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
The Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
So help you God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.